So this time I'm in Ontario, New York, up along the shore of Lake Ontario, and I'm going to try another 600. Hopefully I can finish this one up. It goes from Ontario here at the RBA's house to down south of the Thruway, not quite into the Finger Lakes, but close, and then up, then it goes west to Niagara Falls and follows the Niagara River up to the shore of Lake Ontario and comes all the way back. That's the first 400. And then the next day we do what he calls the Women's Rights Loop, which goes east from here. Eventually it goes over to Rochester, Webster, and just shy of Rochester heads south and heads east. And basically we're doing the southern shore of Lake Ontario to the east of Ontario. So I don't know, this would probably be better called all of the southern shore of Lake Ontario 600 or something like that. See if I can get this off of here. Trying a new piece of nutrition stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm hit and miss with nutrition, so we'll see how this goes. I'm not using Ensure this time. Instead, I'm going to use more of a purpose-made energy powder sort of thing. I still like the idea of eating or drinking the calories. I like that idea. Simple, easy to carry, and there's a good chunk of this ride. I did the 400 kilometer portion of this ride. Well, I've done both portions of it last year. I know that stretch coming back along the lake, which we're actually going to be doing in the dark for this event, that is a desolate area. It's probably like 50 or so miles where there's nothing. So I like the idea of having something I can mix with water and have some calories. I'll bring some food too. I'm not gonna just do one thing. I'll try both, but we'll see how it goes. This is a lot flatter course than last time. Last the Pennsylvania 600 was 20,000 feet of climbing. Not that I got a chance to do any of it, but that was the idea of it. And this one will be substantially less. The whole thing, both days, I think, amount to about 12,000 feet of climbing. So relatively flattish. I mean, I just about did that in the 300 kilometers I did and failed on the Pennsylvania ride. So I'm looking forward to this. This should be actually kind of nice, because last time when I did this ride, it was super hot, and coming back along the lake, you're very exposed to wind, exposed to sun, and it was really hot. Maybe coming back along the lake in the dark will be a little more pleasant. We'll see. Reserving judgment. But it's going to be kind of warm tomorrow night. Tomorrow, it's going to be warm tomorrow in the day. So it's not like we're getting off scot-free here. We're going to do some riding out to Niagara Falls in some heat, up in the 80s anyway, mid 80s. So that'll be a challenge, but I don't think it'll be as much of a challenge as the PA ride. That was elusive. Kind of bummed I wasn't able to finish that ride. That would have been nice to say I finished the whole PA series. But this is another attempt at getting the SR series for the year. Again, acting like I'm going to go to PBP. I'm probably not going anywhere, but, you know, going through the motions as if. And we'll see how this goes. Oh, yes. Good. It's always nice when that actually comes on. You never know. Pretty reliable, but I always worry about taking this thing apart and putting it back together that the wires will go bad. But this little, got this little coax piece. I'll show you this. Soldered this myself. This little coax connection connects up kind of like just like an old RCA jack on a stereo. Super easy to connect. You don't have to worry about little spade connectors. I always worry that I've blown it with the soldering, but it looks like I've done a good job. It's working again. Make sure that lights up too. Oops, that's not gonna work. Yep. All is well. Another little thing take a look at the saddle here. Take a look how it's sagging a little bit. I thought it was comfortable. Not that that sag meant I had broken it in and had finally achieved the goal. And at the end of this ride, I wonder if the Brook's right for me, because I'd become uncomfortable after this 600K. But looking back on it, I think my saddle tension was too low. During the ride, immediately after this one, the tension pin on the saddle snaps. That only happens when the saddle tension isn't sufficient to prevent flexing of the bolt during pedaling, which eventually fatigues the metal. It's a cautionary tale to keep the leather on your Brook saddle tight for comfort and durability. The thing I did is swapped out my seat post. I had the Nitto N65, they call it the Crystal Fellow. I exchanged it for this Velo Orange seat post with a lot of setback. I was finding that I was kind of sitting on the back part of the saddle a lot, and I wanted to get back a little bit further, and I'm finding that this is actually pretty nice. It also has a lot more adjustability in exactly what angle you want. The N65, the Nitto one, had a few détentes, and if you didn't like one of those, you were kind of stuck. But this one is kind of infinitely adjustable, so that's really nice. And I'm hoping that I get a little more saddle comfort here. That'll be good. One of the things I didn't know, but someone told me, actually I got in a conversation with PA-RBA about how your saddle should, how you should fit on a saddle, or how do you know if your setback's right. He told me, asked me, are you scooching back in the saddle if you try to ride no hands? And I do. And he's like, yeah, your saddle's got to come back. So this only goes back maybe another centimeter, but that makes the difference. If I didn't buy this one, I'd have to buy the only other seat post I saw that had that kind of setback was an IRD seat post, but yeah, I didn't really like the way it looked, but you could go back forever with that seat post. It's 4:30 or so. Trying to wake up here and got everything on the bike. It's 5 o'clock start this morning. Not bringing a lot of clothes. It's not very cold. Got one thermal shirt. That's it. A couple arm warmers, mostly for sun actually. like very light running arm warmers. Let's see how this goes.
We have our GP on Boat Island. I guess so.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. And everybody knows about the time clock. If there's nobody here for the intermediate control on the Niagara Falls loop, stamp your card, keep going. There will be a water jug out there with ice water. You can top off your bottles.
Thank you.
Come here in the middle of the night.
Great.
Thank you, Pete.
For the other guys, we're not going to see you till sometime Sunday. Larry, I got a pretty good idea when you're going to finish.
Yeah.
And Mike, I have no idea when you're going to. Let's see. Anything else I can clarify?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And like I said, if you have a major breakdown or something, call. The number's on the brevet card, it's on the cue sheets. Leave a message if by chance nobody's here to answer it. We'll do what we can to get you back.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Enjoy the ride, guys.
Woohoo! And short and sweet speech by Pete. Well, we're just about 6 miles in, hardly anything, and already there's some confusion about the direction. I think someone must have got the wrong cue sheets. Beautiful morning. Sun's about to rise. There wasn't any started in the dark today because we're past the solstice. We're full on in summer now. One guy's behind me. Well, some people are. I think they're off route. I hope they're off route and I'm not. And we'll see what happens here. I don't know if I know there was a cue sheet change like a couple days ago, and maybe probably amounts to very little, but I don't know. I didn't even check to see what the changes were, but I got the latest ones, and I'm looking at the ones Pete handed out at the start, so by definition I must be right. Like I said, last year when I did this, well, this particular part of the route is actually part of a couple different routes that Pete has up here in central New York. It's part of the women's rights loop and the Niagara. It might be part of something else. He kind of likes this road. When I did it on the 400K last year, it was a night start. Started around 7. It was getting about dark about the time we got to the first stop. And this should be this is kind of a completely different ride because, well, each time you do a ride, I guess, it's different. A different year, different weather. And it'll be interesting to go up along the lake at night, but I'll be able to see a lot of the stuff. Wildlife refuge, that'll be nice. Here's the Erie Canal. It wasn't misty last time. It certainly is it seems omnipresent. Well, it says, the cue sheet says go straight through this. Kind of like this kind of stuff. I don't know why. Seems kind of like we're doing something illegal. We're doing the bad thing. Didn't even have to get off the bike. Where's the fun in that? Once I wrote a permanent. It took me to a bridge closing where there was no bridge. And I didn't call the permanent owner. This was back when permanents were permanents that weren't the new system. Used to have to contact somebody, and it wasn't all web-based like it is right now. Listen to me talking like I'm some old guy. Only been doing this a couple of years, but it was just a couple of years ago that this that's the way it was. Anyway, I didn't call to get confirmation or advice about the route. Scrambled down into this creek bed and back up the other side, and my cleats made a mess. It was kind of adventurous, but I didn't have to do that this time. So pretty much this first leg just goes due south to a town called Farmington, and stop at a burn dairy, a little convenience store, gas station place, get the card signed, and then start heading west. Pretty much west all the way to Niagara Falls. Kind of interested. Pete said there was some new paths and stuff to let you get around the town of Niagara Falls, or something like that. A little different than the last time I did it. So that should be interesting. He actually says there's going to be a path through the city, and not to disparage the city too much, but that's probably good. The roads aren't good. The city's in disrepair. But just watching something about that town and how it, you know, used to be full of mills, full of industry, but as a Rust Belt casualty, is no more. And it hasn't weathered the years as well as the Canadian side, and kind of shows it. And then there was the whole Love Canal thing. It's not a great place. It stinks. At least the part of the ride I remember we go through, a bunch of petroleum tanks. Just, it's stinky. So anything to improve that would be good and welcome. But once you get to the falls, there's just no denying it's pretty spectacular. It's another landmark. US 90, known here as the New York State Thruway. Kind of parallels the Erie Canal. Almost at this first stop in Farmington. I guess it's 23 miles in, and my plan will be to grab a sandwich, throw it in the bag, get his initial, and move. No need to stop here, but you know, first leg almost done. I think that's how you have to do it. One little, eat the sandwich one bite at a time, right? Eat these long rides one bite at a time. All right, that first stop's done. Moving on. Be turning to the east, or we'll be turning west. First control's done. We'll be turning west in a little bit. Saw a couple other riders there at the control, so that was good. It's good to know you're not way off in time. And shed some layers. Feels nice. Starting to warm up a little bit. The other thing I really brought was some arm warmers, really light arm warmers, and a thermal long sleeve shirt for at night. stow those away. Got a good night's sleep last night. Staying at the start in the RBA's garage, so let me kind of crash out there. Probably do the sleep stop there. Well, I will do the sleep stop there, and probably crash when I'm done the next day and go back on Monday, head back home. But I really slept well. I thought it was going to be too hot in there in the garage, but actually I fell right asleep and didn't wake up till pretty much just before the start. Just the right amount, you know. I was able to get up, eat a little something, and then get myself organized and dressed. I must feel a lot better than I did at the start of the last 600. I feel really good. Rolling hills through nice farm fields. It's pretty much what a lot of the next several hours are. Sounds like someone should write a song or a poem about that. It's not very stony, nor does it seem particularly lonesome, but it's a good name. Here, hey, the Genesee River flows north into Rochester and into Lake Ontario. We'll be crossing that again when we go through, go over the bridge in Irondequoit Bay. Here it is, kind of just north of Letchworth, I guess. Not just, but we're north of Letchworth, which is a big gorge carved by the Genesee River. Never ridden this, the Genesee Valley Greenway. Another cool trail that I'd like to try someday. Back over the thruway. We're on the north side of it now. I think I'm about 55 miles in or so at the thruway. I think we have a mild tailwind. Like, I'm trying to look at the trees here. It called for a tailwind on the way out. I think it's just starting to come up. It's just the slightest amount. It's just enough to let you know that it's not a headwind. just barely there. We got all the different kinds of colors. Yeah, so far feeling really good. My average speed is going up as we go along, which that's pretty weird usually. Usually it drops a bit, but hey, I think that's that tailwind in action. All right, that's the oak field control. So it looks like we're about yeah, we're like over like 75 miles into this. Had to go check the cue sheets and double check things. I didn't think we had gone that far. That's pretty great. So yeah, it's 25 miles, I guess, to Lockport. That's the next control. That's a kind of a town on the Erie Canal. And then another 23 miles into through Niagara Falls and to the falls itself. That'll be about halfway for today. That's a pretty big tractor. Well, it looks like a little mini Montezuma. Montezuma is a marshy bird sanctuary kind of place. Pretty big one in New York. Just kind of looks like that. Maybe on a little smaller scale. I don't know. It's about noon, and I've gone about 92 miles. About 10 more miles, I think, or so to the next control. And then 23 more to the falls. Well, that's Lockport. Stopped here at a 7-Eleven, just filled up the water. Put my energy drink in there. Should get me to where I need to be at the falls. It's moving out. On Stevens Street here. Passing over the Erie Canal Trail. And the canal itself. Again. So you can see the lock down there. This road is hot. Hot blacktop. You can feel it as soon as we got on it compared to the rest of the road. But it's smooth, so that's nice. When I did this last year, at this point I was starting to really flag, had some stomach problems, and I had a pretty good headwind here. I remember feeling kind of bad dragging everybody, the guys I was riding with. They were kind of waiting up for me. And I was like, ugh, that's the worst. I like kind of riding at my own pace. Paralleling the canal over there. You can't see it really, but it's right there. You can see it over there. Like you can see it along with the Skyline Tower on the Canadian side. That Space Needle looking thing. You can see the mist right there. It's getting close. When I came through here last year, pandemic was still going. It was also early in the morning. There was nobody here. Now there's people walking around. Businesses look to be open. Totally different. town I'm going to is called Youngstown. It's a nice place right over the escarpment. Lots of neat little shops and places to eat. Very quaint little town. So I'll probably grab something there. I diddled around and I wasted a lot of time in Niagara Falls. I mean, not really wasting it. If you're not going to look at the waterfall, then there's not much point in doing this ride. The rest of it is going to be, this next 20 miles or so is nice. After that, it's a little rough. It's a rough on, at least it was rough on me last time, just because there's so little services and just not a lot to see. I mean, the lake is big, it's on your left, and it's about all. Until you get to Rochester, or near Rochester. It's a few neat little, I don't know what you call bays and things like that along the lake that are interesting as you get close to Rochester. But there's probably a 50-mile stretch of it that's just, I'm not saying boring, it's the Great Lakes, but once you've seen it for about 5 minutes, that's about all you need to see. I'm just going to take this shot here of the power, I don't know what those are called, power generation facilities. On the right, it's New York. On the left, Canada's. I don't know what you call that, a sluiceway, whatever. That's the canal that's been created to divert water from that pool that's beyond that, I guess, that dam, through the power station, which is now underneath me. We're still up on the escarpment. We haven't gone over it yet. The falls go over the escarpment. The falls go over the escarpment, but we're still up on the ridge of it. We're going to go down it in a minute here as we go into Lewiston. We're going to go over here as we go down into Youngstown. What the hell city is it called? I don't know. I'll probably try to get a bite in Lewiston. It's a nice little artsy town with lots of little shops and restaurants. Seems like a nice, maybe a good time to do that. It's not a mountain, it's just the escarpment. And you can see we're going to go down it here, and you can see a nice view. What you see beyond there, it's really the lake, way off in the distance. Well, we're coming down off it now. Particularly exciting, but it's a hill.
Valentine is the hardest worker in
They call it the old-fashioned pizza. Reminds me of a pizza, a couple places in Utica that made pizza like this.
To be the achievement of 2
That's all.
years of
Hit the
hard
spot.
work, ups and downs, and I really think that
I'm at the authentic Pizza Hut in Lewiston. What's interesting is I wasn't really looking forward to this part of the ride at all because I remembered it as like hot, really windy, boring. That's not exactly how I'm experiencing it this time. You know, it's pleasant. It's not as hot. It's not as windy. We're getting a tiny amount of headwind, but nothing to sweat. Like 7 miles an hour or something. It could be worse along the lake here. And yeah, it's interesting how your previous experience of a ride can really color it. It's kind of a challenge to approach it new and say, well, maybe it'll be a totally different experience this time. So far this one is. Another park I've never been to. Stop here. They say you can see Toronto, and in fact you can. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. That's it. Try to take a picture. You can see it. See if I can zoom in. I don't know if that works. Alright, that's Olcott control. Pretty sure there was the info control was a trick. It used to be an old boat in front of this Dollar General. It's not there anymore, but they wanted to know the name of the boat. It's like, there is no boat. So right now I'm not quite the Lantern Rouge. There's a rider a little bit behind me who's experiencing some of the troubles eating. Sounds kind of similar to what I experienced on the PA 600. He's going to liquids. That's how he's coping with it. It's actually his first season randonneuring. He's pretty experienced in a lot of other endurance kind of things, triathlete and stuff like that. But he's having a tough time eating. Wish you could encourage him. He can't quite make a shortcut to the start and DNF like I could, so because he's gonna tough it out the extra. I've got 90 miles to go. He's got a little less than that. He's stopping in Webster, but hope he recovers. Alright, got a sandwich, some sweets, I have a bunch of goos, I've got magic powder to put in the water, an extra liter of water. I should be good. Got 45 miles to the next control, but that should be a breeze with all this. I think there's an opportunity here to get some additional nutrition for free, kind of like a baleen whale does when it goes through the ocean with its mouth open catching krill. I feel like as you go by these farms, like there's an opportunity to harvest. I don't know what these are called, what these bugs are, but they get caught in my hair. Kind of like my arm and leg hair feels like they've been peppered. Oops. My arm and leg hair feels as if it's getting pelted non-stop, and it looks like I've got pepper on me. if there was just some way to like use it like a Venus flytrap, or a sundew plant can kind of like digest the bugs that land on it, you might not have to stop for food. It's just something to think about. Maybe if cyclists were allowed to evolve independently on an island, they'd grow ever bushier arm and leg hair and just kind of fully occupy that niche of harvester predator, kind of like in the absence of something like bats or other mosquito eating, no dragonflies. You'd really need to be free to fully occupy that. Otherwise, I don't think it would happen. This really is the best part of the ride. Riding at night, as the sun goes away and it starts to get quiet. The light's all different. Just takes on a whole nother thing. I'm sure that's not coming out. It's nice and pink. Not amazing, but it's nice. Okay, this is the oddity of this ride. This road is very goofy. We're gonna go up on the Lake Ontario Parkway, which is a highway,
Turn left onto the Lake Ontario State Parkway East ramp to Rochester.
which is gotta be, I don't know, it's just not a nice road. Not a lot of people on it, but the condition of it is not good. It's
In a quarter mile,
very bumpy.
continue straight.
There it is. It gets worse and more bumpy. All right, we're getting off here at Morton, and true confession, it wasn't as bumpy as I remembered it. Again,
In a quarter mile,
approaching these rides afresh is probably a good idea. I'm back on the State Parkway, but this section is
10.5 miles,
an actual
continue
road,
straight.
a lot better, a little more used, a lot better maintained. The shoulder is usable, so I'll take that. All right, I think that's, all right, that's the Charlotte. You'd think it was Charlotte, but it's not. Charlotte Control. Sketchy 7-Eleven by a bar. 30 more miles, and it's sleepy time. Going over the drawbridge.
Hours, 4 minutes, 10 seconds. Remaining distance 18.2 miles. Will arrive in 1 hour, 21
Donuts
minutes, 9
Elite.
seconds. Last interval. Average speed 9.8 miles per hour.
It appears to be
Average
open.
Speed 9.9 miles per hour.
Crazy. Good morning. Well, it's 7:30 something, and we're off again. So this looks familiar. getting really hot, and it's humid, and it's a little windier than yesterday. So I'm drinking, I'm electrolyting, drinking lots of electrolytes, lots of fuel. I can feel it sapping me. Easy climbs are difficult, and yeah, should be an interesting day. When you've got a certain distance and the miles have taken its toll on your nether regions, having a seat on the saddle is like different than when you start. For me it is anyway. For me, setting into the saddle, sitting on the saddle is like a little more like, I imagine like a cartoon chicken trying to like find the perfect spot to sit in the nest. Like, is this just right? You just adjust and mess around. And then coming out of the saddle and sitting back down, it's like, you gotta make sure it's worth it. It comes with all this overhead. This is the first trail we've had. We're only gonna be on it for a half minute, but the Ontario Pathways Trail. A little bit, I think, east of Clifton Springs. Taking us south just a little bit. Wish we had more of this. Some shade and some little coolness, you know. This is nice. We could probably do to build more routes with some of this. It's a nice trail, but it's also very bumpy. Different than many of the other trails I rode this season, other brevets. This is a not one you're going to make any great time on. Lumpy and bumpy, and entrances to bridges have like a 3-inch lip where you got to really watch it. But at least we're in the woods a little bit. There it is. There it was. Sometimes when you're doing simple things around the house, baby, you think of me and smile. You know I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Nicer than I remember. Your heart for a while.
And you think you might like the taste. Something keeps him drifting miles and miles away, searching for.
This is all some sort of like hunting club's private land. Fence it in the deer so you can go shoot them. Pretty long fence. Keep going. Keeps going for a long time. About 40 miles left. 40 miles to go.
Turn left onto West Main Street.
the skies opened up there for like 5 minutes. Had a deluge. Actually feels pretty good. Another little downpour came and I got a flat. So I had to fix that in the rain. That was pleasant. I think we're good. Don't see anything on the tire, so here's hoping. The star of the show for this ride was nutrition. It was hot. I was exposed in the sun all day, both days, and forcing myself to drink and eat. And switching from the Ensure powder to more of a sports drinky powder made a big difference. It was a lot easier to drink a grape flavored Gatorade-y kind of thing. It wasn't Gatorade, but that worked really well. Whereas Ensure is kind of like drinking a shake. You can only drink so many rich shakes before you're like, nah. That's true with everything, but this went down a lot easier. And I feel pretty good. A flat within a half a mile of the finish. I can't believe it. I'm not going to even fix it. All right, little post reflection here. So I got this flat, like within, at first I had a flat in a rainstorm just out of Wolcott, within, I don't know, 35 miles of the end or something like that. I thought it was just due to a patch on the tube being ripped off. It somehow adhered to the tire. So I just threw a new tube in. Nothing about the rim, nothing about the tire seemed like it was wrong. So I put a new one in and it was great. All the way until I got like a couple feet from the end. Right here in the development where the RVA lives in Ontario, it it popped. So I inflated it a couple times just to get a little closer. Anyways, it was a kind of a weird ending to walk it in. For the most part, the ride went well. What I'm concluding is this is my second 600. Last time I had hand issues, which are not so bad this time because I've taken care to like extra pad this bar, the handlebar, and I've set the seat back, so it actually does seem like it makes a difference in how I ride. It's nice. I'm happy with that. I did switch from platforms to SPD, mountain bikey style pedals, and on a 600, my feet were killing me. Lots of hot spots, and that was a problem. I never had that as a problem with platform soles, but it only really manifests at 600K. So I'm not sure what that means. Maybe I should see if there's a better shoe. Maybe I should just go back to platforms and leave it. And on 600s, the Brooks B17 is a cheese grater for me so far. These two rides I've done. It's rough. It's a really tough saddle. It's broken in like crazy. It's, you can see that it's conformed to my parts, and it's broken in. It's gotten a fair shake. I think I'm going to try another saddle. I like the Brooks. It kind of fits in with the whole, I don't want to say the whole Riv thing, but it does kind of goes well with the bike. And I wanted to like it, and I do like it, except for on really long rides. So I might swap that out for something else. There's a few other saddles I have in mind. I didn't need the rain gears, really. I had a little rain and it felt wonderful to get wet at the end. It just worked out perfectly for the weather. And back to this idea of, I really wasn't looking forward to this ride. I just needed to get a 600. It was, the Niagara Falls is wonderful, but I All the rest of the ride, less so. It's not. I wasn't thinking it was going to be amazing, and it wasn't. It wasn't amazing. It was just I'll say I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't quite as bad or as boring as I sort of remembered it. Let me rephrase that. It's kind of a tour through small towns without a lot to see. So I wasn't really looking forward to seeing what little there was. And it's a lot of exposed writing. There's not a lot of tree cover and stuff like that. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. I really have to say I do have to remember to every ride you do, even on a ride you've done before, it has the potential to be a totally different thing. And of course everyone knows that, but yeah. The bike rode great. Geez, this bike is nice. I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's another SR series. So now to think about 1,000K or 1,200. Whew, that does not sound like a thing I want to do right now. One last note about this rack, actually less about the rack, but you'll see. This 2x2 cycles rack, I use it to carry my bike to a couple events now, and it just is, I've moved it forwards quite a bit so that I made some other videos about this. Move this arm forward to get less, the bike has less leverage on the rack, on the bicycle's tubular steel rack. But you can see right here, it's cracked. This is just hanging there. I cannot use this rack at the moment. I need a custom, something stronger rack here. This tubular steel doesn't do it. And this is all but cracked. I can see that it's here. I can feel it. And there's a crack underneath it. It's just, I don't know, that tubular steel isn't quite strong enough on this bike for some reason to hold a bicycle. So I'm going to see if I can get that repaired and or replaced. And yeah. But yeah, I'll have to leave the bike here and come back for it next week with the car. I like having the bike because we're a one-car family, and it allows me to do this while leaving the car for my wife to run the dog around and do stuff. But yeah, it does put quite a strain on a rack.